Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Backstage Spotlight. Today we have with us the amazing Lucie Jones. Hello.
Hi, babe. Thanks for having me. This is fun.
Thank you so much for coming on. I am so happy to see you. I'm very excited to talk to you today. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you. I'm really good. It's been a busy time, busy life, as I always say, but I'm great. Thank you.
Good. Always busy. It's the best way to be. Would you
Yeah.
like to tell everyone what's coming up for you in the next few months and what you have recently done?
Yeah, sure. I've sort of I've been very lucky work-wise in terms of musical theatre. It's been like a sort of run of um, running from one show sort of into the next one. And I've decided to take a little break from that so that I could just recoup and work on some other projects. So I've not been in a musical for a couple of months, which has been really nice, but I've been doing lots of other things. One of the main things that I've been doing is when I was with you last year, I launched the Lucie Jones Academy,
Yes.
which is a workshop based educational program. And it's sort of around the country with myself and other West End professionals teaching on and off stage disciplines, which has been going really, really well. So if
Great.
you are a person that would like to learn more about what we do, then do follow us on social media. We're on all the platforms, or just go to my website luciejones.com. There's always lots of things going on with that, which is great. So that's keeping me very busy. I recently originated the role of Jenna Rink in 13 Going on 30, the musical,
Wow.
which was a short run, and we're very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that that will become something because the show is just amazing and sort of ruined. Everyone that saw it was in floods of tears and had the best time ever, and it was just great. So that was amazing to do. You and I did Super You together at the end of last year, which was
Yes.
gorge and really fun. And I have coming up very, very soon my solo shows at Cadogan Hall, which are on
Yeah.
the 12th of May. And I'm sort of spending every waking minute putting that together at the minute, working with the band and my guests and making sure that everything is ready to rock. I'm very, very excited for this show. It's going to be, I think it's going to be one of my favorites. I did a solo show in New York a couple of weeks ago.
I saw.
Um,
How was that?
and yeah, it was awesome. It was really, really cool. It was different kettle of fish going over there and doing something by myself. It
Yeah.
was quite scary because here I know that there's a certain amount of people who may have seen me in a show and may want to come along because of that. But in New York, it's totally different. But we sold out and it was a lovely evening.
Oh,
But what I was
great.
going to say is, yeah, it went well in the end. And I worried about all the wrong things. You know what it's like, you get in your head about silly things, don't you, sometimes? And I'm preaching all the time to other people, don't think about that, don't worry about that. And then I was worrying about all those things myself. Um, but yeah, this one was, it was really special. And there was a couple of moments in it and that I thought, oh, I'm going to do this again. I'm going to do this next time I'm in London. And so I'm sort of taking things that we did in New York and bringing them back to London in a slightly different way. So I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, and nice to be close to home, like have people come and watch. It will be a
Absolutely.
really, really nice concert. What can people expect if you aren't keeping it all a secret?
Well, there's a certain amount of songs now that if I don't sing them, I'll get strung up at stage door afterwards. There are things that people expect from me, which is absolutely fine. And thank goodness, I've been very, very lucky. I've played some roles that have some incredible songs attached to them, which I'm going to be singing for the rest of my life. And I'm absolutely fine with that. Like, genuinely, I'm really happy that I get to do them. But outside of those songs, this time I've chosen a set list that you people who've seen me before maybe won't have heard me sing most of this set.
Nice.
And my guests, one of them I've been on stage with before, but I've never duetted with, and the other one I've never been on stage with at all. But we've been friends for a number of years now, and he's a megastar. So I'm really, really excited. His voice will blow everyone's freaking minds away. So I'm very excited for the guests. Yeah, so it's going to be slightly different. I've had a little bit more time on my hands. I've chosen to have more time on my hands, I should say, in getting ready for this gig because um, I didn't want it to just be, oh, she's doing a concert. I wanted it to be a really great show, you know. So I've spent a good amount of time sort of getting ready for it and making sure it's everything that I want it to be.
Yeah, amazing. Everyone going to that. Hope you're all looking forward to it. I'll be there. I'm
Yeah, baby.
can't wait. Let's cast it back to the beginning for you. So you auditioned for X Factor. Was that the start for you?
That was 2009. Excuse me. 2009, I auditioned for the X Factor, and I auditioned that year because I didn't get into musical theatre school. I'd been auditioning everywhere and I didn't get in anywhere.
Wow.
So I went and auditioned for X Factor, just sort of thinking, what am I going to do this year? And I'll just try, you know. Um, and when I came out of the show there, I met my theatre agent, and we've sort of, in one way or another, been together ever since. As in, he was my agent's assistant, then became an agent, and I've stayed with him ever since. And we've gone off to his new company together a number of years ago now. And so, yeah, that is sort of how I got my start, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah. And how was the X Factor journey, like going from like not getting into college to then being like close to the final, like that transformation?
Yeah, it's wild. Sometimes, like now, I'm like, that doesn't even feel real. It feels like a fever dream. Like, was that actually part of my life? It's crazy. We did, I basically went from being in sixth form at home and going to college every day, and then hanging out with my friends and my boyfriend, and going to athletics and being in shows locally in Cardiff and stuff, to being on what was at the time, it was like one of the biggest shows on TV. You know, the night I got kicked off the show, there was like 20 million people watching it. It's unbelievable
Nuts, yeah.
that nobody sits down and watches the same show like that anymore. Those viewing figures just don't exist. But it was a different time. We didn't have like Netflix and streaming and stuff, so everyone just used to watch what was on like ITV or BBC.
Yeah.
And we were an ITV show on prime time on Saturday, and if you missed it, you recorded it and you watched it the next day. It was one of those, you know. Um, and I sort of went from being at home to doing that, and then we did a sellout arena tour. We did 56 dates. We played a number of days at Wembley Arena and the O2 and Cardiff and Glasgow, and we went around to so many venues, and it completely sold out, and singing these like iconic songs in an arena. And then that's over, and what you're going to do now? And obviously I wanted to do musical theatre, so my agent and I started to work together, and I went into Les Mis. But it doesn't quite feel real. It feels like someone else's life that I maybe watched from afar. But I had a great experience. I had a great time. Reality TV can be tricky for people, and I completely understand that. But it wasn't my experience. I had a really nice time.
Yeah, nice. What a start to kickstart all of this career off. I mean, it's like a path that people don't think of going down. And like for you, that like struggle of drama schools and then doing that, it must have just been your big break and it got you into doing, like you just said, Les Mis. So how
Hmm.
was that transition to then the stage and starting like working on musicals?
Hmm. Well, sorry, I'm eating a mint as I'm talking to you.
Right.
It's so rude. um. So yeah, it's a good question, because it was quite interesting at times, because that reality TV was such a beast back then, and it's a totally different thing now. Um, we used to get sort of looked down on for coming from reality TV and not having, you know, trained properly in inverted commas. Like, um, and I remember a couple of times where when I was at Les Mis, I was playing Cosette and Samantha Barks was playing Eponine. Um, and Barksy had been on I'd Do Anything, like Search for Nancy on BBC at the same time, basically, as I'd done X Factor. And we had literally, I remember somebody in the show being really sort of, you know, shitty with us because we'd come from reality TV and we were like 17 and 18 years old. There was nothing that we
Yeah.
could say back to this fully grown man. But and I mean, I now understand that that comes from insecurity and what have you, but we did face it, and I definitely faced it, particularly because I came from like a pop reality show as opposed to a musical theatre one. I'd go into auditions and sing, and I literally remember a very famous director actually now saying to me, "Oh, you're actually quite good," and I thought, oh, "Thank you," but don't say actually. Just because I sang
Yeah.
on the TV in a different medium doesn't mean that I can't do this, and I'm not, giving it everything. Um, so yeah, it was quite tricky in at moments, and I really had to sort of fight to be taken seriously.
Mm.
Um, and it took quite a lot of time to get that sort of chalice from around my neck, um the sort of the stigma that came with coming from a reality TV show. But I rarely get asked about it in any other way than, so you were on the X Factor, oh my god, that was so fun, and then on to the next question. It's sort of like what you're doing here today. But it used to be, like, understandably, the thing that people just wanted to talk about, and they wanted to talk about it all the time. And if I was in a serious theatre situation and people were asking me about it, there was always a bit of a eye roll that came with it. So yeah, it wasn't the easiest of transitions, but because I always really wanted to do this and loved this, I have trained, and I have done loads of training before that and since, and I will continue to. And now I train people myself.
Yeah.
So it was always in my head. That was just part of the course. I just had to go through that to get to where I needed to go. And here we are, all these years later.
I know, and what a journey it's been. What are some of like your favorite roles that you've performed? I mean, you probably can't pick one because you have played like a handful of fantastic roles. But what has been like the one that resonates with you the most, or the one that you feel a connection to, like the style of music or the show, the story?
Yeah, that's one of the trickiest questions that I ever get asked, is what's the one that's resonated with you, or your favorite. I will
Yeah.
say the one that I found um sort of most comfortable, most uncomfortable, most wonderful and awful, like all of the things rolled into one, was Jenna in Waitress.
Yes.
um because it's such a beautiful story, and it's so human, and she goes through a lot, and she's flawed, and she gets to sing the most incredible songs that have been written in the last god knows how many years for musical theatre. um and it sort of fit my voice type as well. That sort of folky, poppy edge of musical theatre is where I sit naturally anyway. And I worked really, really hard to get that role. And once I got it, I worked even harder to make sure that I gave it everything that I possibly could. And I felt very, very attached to it. And of course, we closed during lockdown, so we didn't really get that sort of last hurrah. I went off and did a little bit of the UK tour after lockdown, but an entirely different experience with a different cast, and not in our home in London, and so another wonderful experience, but a different one. So Jenna definitely, I really loved, but I always wanted to play Alphaba, and so
Yeah.
that was quite special.
What a
But then
role.
also, I mean, ridiculous. It's ridiculous, unbelievable. And what I was going to say, there was Elle Woods as well. It was
Yeah.
my sort of one of my big dreams, and I got to play her for about 2 years on and off, um, and learned a lot from her. I'm a big girls' girl, so I loved playing Elle. But I learned a lot about the sort of the cliche things of Elle Woods, judging a book by its cover, and the intricacies of personality types and things like that I studied when I was playing her and getting ready to play her. Uh, I loved doing that. But then Fontaine, I can't. This is the thing. It's so hard. It's
Yeah.
they're awesome roles. They really are. So I can't answer. I can't answer, Matilda. Don't make me choose.
I think it's fair for you to not answer. I think that's enough.
Thanks, babe.
So you just touched there on preparing for a role. What is your preparation process, or like your go-to of like character analysis and research? Because I feel like a lot of people when they go see a musical don't realize that as well as rehearsals, like there's a whole stage of like character analysis and research before.
Absolutely. So I'll take Waitress as an example, because this was one of the ones that, as soon as the audition came in, I started treating it like I had the job. I wanted to go in as well prepared as I possibly could, because I had the time. I'd been touring for like 5 or 6 years before that, all around the world, and I'd said to my agent, I'd really like to pause this and see what's available for me if we remain available for things in the West End, which when you're in China or, South Korea doing a show, it's wonderful. And it's great and it's experience, and it is, you're doing the job and you're having a great time, but you can't pop back and do auditions,
Yeah.
and you can't just be there at the drop of a hat. So we decided to sort of remain available, if you will, and this audition came in for waitress, and I just threw myself full force into working on it. I went and met with my acting coach to go over the scenes, and I sat down with her and I said, I've got this audition for waitress. And she was like, what? Waitress, like the movie Waitress? And she said the actress and everything. And I was like, yeah. And she said, that's my friend's film. Like, she wrote it and starred in it. Like, I was
No
like,
way.
what? What? It was just like a wild experience. And she felt very emotional about it and attached to it as well, because when just before that movie was released, the woman who starred in it and wrote it, she was murdered. She never got to see it. It was like a really crazy story.
No way.
And I won't go into it now because it's really dark.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she knew loads about this story and this character, and so I sat with her and we read a lot and we watched scenes from movies that had similar characters, or places, movies that were set in similar places to Waitress. We listened to music written by singers about storylines, that like country songs about girls who were like Jenna and people who lived lives like Jenna lived, and we listened to a lot of stuff with the accent, because it's a very specific deep southern accent, and people think they can do it, but it's real lazy. You don't have to work too hard to get it right. And I was like going real over the top, being all countrified. But as soon as we clicked into what it was, then I could just, like, now I will be able to just sort of slip into it and crack on with it. So we sort of put all these building blocks in place, so that then when I picked up the scenes and we actioned the scenes, um, I already knew who she was, and I knew what world she was from, and I knew what she sounded like and what that would look like in real life, and not in a stylized musical version of her, but who Jenna might look like if she worked in the real world and lived in the real world. Um, and so when I went into my audition, and the producer Barry said to me, "So Lucy, what do you think about Jenna?" And I was like, and I had like an hour of talking with him before we even did any scenes. I was showing him more than anything else that I really cared about it, and I loved the piece, and I'd done the work, and so that's sort of one process that I was quite a specific one, because I had time, and I really wanted it. And it doesn't always work out that way. Of course, you can put all that work in, and then it doesn't work, and you have to be okay with that before you start doing the work. And I was like, I wanted it to be good, and all of this work that Dee and I did on that role, I've taken forward into roles that I've played since, and I will continue to take forward. And unfortunately, she's passed away now as well. So that was the last process that I fully did with her. So I've sort of got that, and I've taken that with me forward. And I'm really personally grateful that we chose to really dive into that one.
Yeah.
Um, but it was an education in itself. So, you're never going to harm yourself by throwing yourself in and doing as much work as you possibly can, while still obviously being malleable for auditions, because they might say, no, we don't want it like that, we want it like this or this, or but there's a lot of nerdy geeky stuff that goes in beforehand, that then means that an audience member who may know nothing about the show or about theatre even can come in and be moved and feel, and like, we work really hard to make that happen. So yeah, there's a lot that goes in beforehand, and that's just one process for me.
Yeah. It's absolutely mesmerizing to hear all of that. And I'm sure that listeners as well, like those who aren't specifically in the industry, will just think that it really is a whole new world. And hearing that's just great. You mentioned that Waitress closed into lockdown. How did you use that time as a performer to get a creative outlet?
Yeah, well, it's sort of like most of my life now. I taught. I When we found out that Waitress was going to be closing, we got an email saying that we're not going to be reopening. I mourned that for a little while because I had to, because I was
Yeah.
devastated. Um, and then I was like, okay, well, what the hell am I going to do? I need to do something with my time, and I need to earn some money, and I need to have this, like, I've got this knot in my chest of like create, do, make, play, which I exercise pretty much every day in my real life, you know. Um, so I started to teach, and basically I spent half of my week, well, most of my week teaching, and then the bits of time where I was not teaching, I was learning. So I did one-to-one lessons with my teacher, and I did group lessons with my teacher on Zoom, where there'd be like five of us, and we'd meet once a week, and we'd do, the first half of the lesson would be technique, and he would talk us through something, and we'd learn about a technique, and we'd try exercises and things like that. And then the second half would be, one of us would have a lesson and everyone else would watch, which at the beginning just like filled me with dread, and I was so terrified. And it is scary to just like stand up in front of your peers, and some of the people I was in lessons with, I was like, huh, I cannot believe you're gonna watch me try and fail here, you know. Um, but I learned so much by watching other people and by learning in front of other people, that it sort of spurred me on to do academy, which is now what I do. And it's one of the reasons, one, pretty much the main reason why I do academy, is because of that in lockdown, and I completely fell in love with it. Aside from that, I did loads of like streamed concerts and play readings, and we did a whole musical on Zoom, and I recorded title of show, the Four-Hander musical. We recorded that at the Coliseum during lockdown, and we were all in a bubble, and
Wow.
like crazy times. It doesn't feel real anymore, you know. It's
No.
another one of those, like, you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy that that really happened, but it did. And it was nice to be able to bring joy in that time as well, because it was very dark, obviously.
It was, it was.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I hear from so many people like that have done so many different things in lockdown, and just hearing how different people use their time to do that is great. And I noticed on your Lucy Jones Academy page that you have observer tickets. And that's
Yes.
so interesting what you were saying, because um, people don't realize that how much you can actually learn from watching.
Yeah. So one of the things that I wanted to do with this academy was make sure that when I've got, say for example, I've got a 3 hour class, we may have 100 people that want to come to that class, but there's no way in hell that I can get 100 people up in 3 hours and get them to sing and get them to really connect to something and give them the time that they, excuse me, sorry, give them the time that they so rightfully deserve. So I decided to limit the spaces for participants, but keep observer tickets open afterwards, because of what I've just said to you there. I've learned so much from watching other people learn. And I've had people come over the last few months. Some of them are performers, some of them are writers, some of them are primary school teachers and just want to see a different type of lesson happening. Or, you know, some of them run amateur dramatics groups, or some of them perform in amateur dramatics groups. And it's been really interesting to have the observers come to me after a class and say, I just sort of came along to see what it was about, but I've taken so much from it. And I'm like, that's great. That's what we want. That was the whole point, was opening it up for people who, not everyone wants to get up and sing either. You know, not everybody feels confident to stand in a room full of people. It might take somebody 5 times as an observer to really feel confident enough that, right, next time I'm going to try and get myself a participant spot and get up and sing. But I have, the overwhelming thing has been people coming as observers and going, I'm so booking a participant next time, I can't wait. And that's been really, really nice, because the whole point, like I said, is to create this atmosphere of like warmth and support, and trying to make it as positive as we possibly can. And so that people feel comfortable to try and to play.
Yeah, it's really amazing what you're doing, and
Thanks,
it's
babe.
such a good insight into the industry. And I see that you get guests, and it allows people who don't necessarily want to go to drama school or can't afford to, or those people in life that there's that gap, and you're what you're doing is so beneficial for that, and even people who are in drama school and wanting to learn, observe, it's great. What future do you see for Lucy Jones Academy? Where would you like it to go?
Well, we're actually splitting off into three prongs, if you will. In the next sort of 6 months, we're going to have the academy as it currently is, which is going to be to help support people who would like to be in the theatre industry, that are very seriously thinking about it,
Yeah.
for on and off stage disciplines. So we've had stage management course, we've had an agency chat, we've had casting chats, we've had all these sorts of things, and we're finding that there is a whole realm of people that want to do that. But I'm also getting messages from people that I've been in shows with saying, is this open to professionals, and is this open for my child, or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, well, why not? Let's split, let's do that, let's keep the academy as it is, and then we're going to have a branch for younger people who are showing great promise in what we do and would like to learn more about it. And then we're going to have another branch which will be LJA Pro. So for people like yourself, once you leave college and you're out there in the big bad world and you just want to check in and do a bit of training, or just a 3 hour class, or a meeting with a choreographer that you've always wanted to audition for and work
Yeah.
with but you've never had the chance, or whatever, we're going to hopefully open doors and make connections for people that will genuinely help their careers. So I'm excited for that too. It'll be really cool to get that kicked off later this year.
Yeah. That is fantastic.
Thanks, Ellie.
What advice would you have for someone who is at that leaving stage of college, like I am, like going into the industry? What would you
Yeah,
say?
well, I get this a lot. This question comes to me a lot. What do I do now? Like, where do I go?
Yeah.
How do I get noticed and seen? And that's almost like a moot question, or as Jerry would say, a moot point, a cow's opinion. It's like it's so difficult. Everyone is different, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's route is completely different. Um, I wanted to go to musical theatre school and did not get in. My route in has been completely different. Your route now has been completely different because you have success in the app. Don't know if I've got an Instagram logo here, but I want to say
Yeah.
the other one.
And
Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok.
Yes, there we go. Okay. Yeah, sorry. I could remember what it was. I just wasn't sure if I was able to talk about it because this was an Instagram thing. Anyway, um yeah, I mean, you've had success in a different lane, so you're coming into it slightly differently to somebody who's literally done 3 years in drama school and nobody knows who they are, you know. Everyone has different a different route in, so therefore everyone's route through is going to be completely different, and there's not one size fits all. My piece of advice will always be to people, and whoever you are, push yourself slightly out of your comfort zone and turn up and do things. Go to open mic nights, go to open calls, queue for auditions, put yourself out there, ask for things, ask for advice and help, introduce yourself to people, do things that maybe you think you're not quite right for but you think might be a good experience anyway. You know, just take the hours and hours and hours and hours of experience that you need are not going to come if you sit at home waiting for the phone to ring. Get up and go and do things, and don't be too proud to work front of house, work in a coffee shop, clean hotel rooms, be someone's personal assistant, do running for auditions. You know, just go and do and make it happen, and find joy and light in other places, because the more pressure you put on yourself to make it perfect and work right now, the less likely it is going to happen. You need to have your life, and this needs to be, yes, a big part of your life. We can't just expect to work 6 days a week and then it to just go away and just, you know, work at Vodka Revs. But you need to be okay doing that, and you need to find happiness and joy in that as well, because it's unrealistic that you're just going to work in theatre for the rest of your life, or just in TV and film, or whatever it might be. You need to be able to pick up and go, and the sooner you can start doing that by just getting up in the morning and being like, okay, I've got 4 hours free today. I don't know, maybe I'll spend an hour looking at job interviews for the next couple of weeks, and because I'm free and I need to earn some money and I live in London, for Christ's sake. Or
Mhm.
maybe I'll go to a class, or maybe I'll go to a free group session and learn about a skill that I've never learned before. the more knowledge and information that you have from the world around you, and the more comfortable you are with experiencing that and getting involved, the better a performer you will be, and the more likely you are to have a nice life and to succeed, I would say.
Yeah, that's great advice. Um, about yourself now, something that you have never done before and would want to do at some point in your life, can be in the entertainment industry, can be something completely separate, but something you'd like to do at some point.
Hmm, good question. Um, well, I always would have said presenting, but over the last few years, I have a radio show on Magic at the Musicals, and that
Yes,
sort of led into some live presenting as well, and
that's great.
doing events and screen and stuff. So that's been great, and I really really enjoy that. It's basically this, it's chatting and it's having a lovely
Yeah,
time
yeah.
and
I love that
just
too.
being interested and interesting, and it's nice, it's fun. But I mean, lots of things, loads of things. I'm really not a very good dancer, so I would like to be, maybe get a bit better at that. Maybe you can help me with that, Matilda, one day. I'm really not very good, but I love doing it. It's so fun. So maybe a bit more dance at some point. But I mean, I'm 33, so getting on a bit to learn like a whole new
It's never
physical
too
skill.
late.
Never too late. I can try, but never mind. Let's have a glass of wine at some point, and you can show me the
Yeah, yeah,
ropes.
yeah,
I'll show you
brilliant.
how bad I really am, and you can tell me how long it would take to get good.
Oh, that's brilliant. And the last question I always ask all of my podcast guests is if you could have someone come on this podcast and impart their knowledge to nominate, and I'll reach out to them, who would it be?
Ooh. Okay, so I've got two people.
Go on.
First person is I'm basically going to tell you about my two best friends. First is Shanae Holmes.
Yeah.
Shanae and I met when we were doing Rent together, and playing Maureen and Joanne. Moran, that's our couple name. And we very quickly became really, really good friends. And she's an incredible performer. She's playing Nancy and Oliver this summer in Chichester.
Yes.
She was originated. Oh gosh, what's the name of the character she did in? Oh, Cindy Breakspear in Get Up, Stand Up, and she's an amazing actor, amazing singer. But not only that, she's a producer, and her husband run Musical Con at the Excel every year, and they have musical
Yeah.
brunch every week, and they do loads of amazing stuff. So I would love, love, love you to speak with her, because her her way of looking at the industry and her manner and the way that she is and the way that she works is just so inspiring. So I think that would be an amazing guest to have. And then also my other bestie is Lauren Samuels, who we lived together for years, and we toured together, and we've done concerts together, and we've done musicals together, and we're just about to share something else in that she has just taken on the role of Elphaba on the North American tour of Wicked.
Yeah.
So I think it would be amazing to speak with her, because she has, in the last few years, she got married and she moved to America with her husband. She's not done a musical in about 9 years, and the first one back that she's doing is Wicked,
That
and
is
there is so
insane.
much in there to speak about and unpack, and she's an incredible actor and performer. Uh, and now she's about to take on this whole new world of working in the States, which is quite different to working in the UK.
Yeah.
So I think that will be a really interesting one as well. And she's also just a lovely, lovely person. And I think it would be really nice for your listeners to hear her insight.
Yeah, both really, really good people to reach out to. Thank you so much, Lucy. You've been
Of course.
amazing. And I hope that everyone listening has enjoyed this episode. Go check out Lucy Jones Academy and what you on Instagram.
Yeah,
Um,
we're on Instagram, TikTok, all the things, all the things. But do come along to Cadogan Hall, because it's going to be really special. 12th of May.
yes,
That's the
yes, I
guy.
cannot wait for that. Thank you all for listening. Give the pod a 5-star review. Go see the socials, and we'll see you next week. Bye. Bye, Lucy.
Thanks, babe. Bye.